Greetings from Paranormal M, where the unexplainable becomes real. Join us as we explore the most mysterious stories of our time. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay updated with the latest thrilling tales. We hope you're ready for the unexpected. Story number 1. Shadow and Crumbs. Just a few hours ago, an inexplicable incident occurred that has left me utterly perplexed and struggling to comprehend what transpired. Let me recount the bewildering chain of events that unfolded. As I diligently went about my household chores, vacuuming the entire house, I found myself alone on the upper floor. My brother occupied the lower level, while the rest of my family was away. With the vacuum cleaner in hand, I proceeded down the hallway, aiming to clean every nook and cranny. Upon reaching the bathroom, I slightly closed the door to gain access to the vent. Fully engrossed in my cleaning mission, that is. Suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a shadowy presence passing by the partially closed door. My immediate assumption was that my brother was hastening towards either my room or our mother's room, prompting me to brace myself and reprimand him for his hasty movements. Filled with anticipation, I stepped out of the bathroom, ready to confront my brother, but to my astonishment, there was no one in sight. The silence in the air was deafening, devoid of any sign of human presence. However, what caught my attention was the trail left behind the enigmatic shadow. It consisted of peculiar brown crumbs strewn across the floor, distinctly marking the path that it traversed. This revelation only served to deepen my confusion and bewilderment. I had meticulously cleaned the hallway, employing my obsessive-compulsive tendencies to ensure not even a single speck of dirt, dog hair, or mud remained. In fact, I had painstakingly vacuumed the area twice, thrice, driven by my unwavering pursuit of cleanliness and perfection. Thus, the sudden appearance of these mysterious crumbs defied all logical explanation. Adding to the enigma, these crumbs defied identification. They were unlike typical breadcrumbs or any recognizable food particles that one would expect to find. Furthermore, our household lacked any baked goods or culinary treats that could have plausibly resulted in such peculiar remnants. This inexplicable occurrence was entirely unprecedented, and its peculiarity only intensified my sense of unease and fascination. In conclusion, this inexplicable encounters left me grappling with a myriad of unanswered questions. The bizarre interplay of shadows, the eerie absence of any accompanying human presence, and the inexplicable trail of enigmatic brown crumbs have all combined to create a sense of perplexity that continues to bewilder me. It's an accident that has defied all reason and logic, leaving me with an enduring sense of intrigue and an insatiable desire to unravel the truth behind this inexplicable phenomenon. Entities on the stairs. Lately, whenever I find myself in the confines of the kitchen, engrossed in mundane tasks such as washing dishes and baking delectable treats, or meticulously cleaning every nook and cranny, my attention is repeatedly drawn towards a peculiar entity lurking upon the stairs that led down to the dreary abyss of our basement. It's a phenomenon that's become a disconcerting regularity, a spectral presence that refuses to escape the periphery of my vision. It is as if this enigmatic being deliberately seeks to capture my gaze, teasing my senses with its ominous presence. In the midst of my daily chores, an eerie sensation enveloped me, and I suddenly perceive a flicker of movement from the corner of my eye. Turning my head over so slightly, there it is, perched menacingly atop the staircase. A shiver races down my spine as I take in its haunting figure. With bated breath, I observe its peculiar behavior. Crouching low, it cunningly extends its long skeletal fingers through the iron bars of the baby gate, which serves as a barrier between its realm and ours. A grotesque dance ensues, as if playfully wiggling around its elongated digits, taunting both me and my dog. This enigmatic presence exhibits an uncanny duality in its actions, fluctuating between frenetic bursts of energy and languid, desperate strides. Sometimes it propels itself up and down the steps with astonishing speed, as if chasing phantoms only that maybe it can perceive. On other occasions, it adopts a maddeningly measured gait, slowly traversing the staircase, relishing every step as if savoring our growing trepidation. Its pallid oval countenance possesses an ethereal quality, contrasting sharply against the dark cloak that sways with an otherworldly grace. To my utter astonishment, there are moments when this spectral apparition stands resolute upon the steps, peering down into the abyss below. I have borne witness to this unnerving sight while venturing downstairs to retrieve forgotten items. It gazes down unsuspecting souls with an intensity that chills one's bones, as if harboring some malevolent intent that remains inexplicable to mortal comprehension. The lingering dread it instills within us is palpable, prompting my own brothers to steadfastly refuse to descend into the foreboding depths of our basement unaccompanied. Even my dear grandmother, who often finds solace in the tranquility of our kitchen, has attested to the peculiar manifestations of this supernatural entity. As she sits immersed in her own thoughts, the faint echoes of its presence reverberate through the air, reaching her delicate ears. She, too, has become a witness to the enigma that torments our household, and our beloved canine companion, once brave and boisterous, has succumbed to a state of abject terror, whimpering and recoiling at the mere prospect of venturing near the ominous stairs that lead to the abyss. Regrettably, this is not the first encounter that we've had with this unnerving apparition. In the annals of the year 2021, we found ourselves embroiled in a similar predicament. Alas, we naively believed that its existence was vanquished through the collective effort of purging our dwelling and invoking the blessings of divine intervention. The subsequent year, 2022, provided respite from its menacing presence, leading us to believe that our ordeal had come to an end. Yet, as if awakened from a dormant slumber, this supernatural specter has once again emerged, tormenting our very souls. In our valiant attempt to preserve our sanity, we endeavor not to allow this insidious entity to undermine our daily lives. I heard my mom's voice when she wasn't home. While my mom and grandma are usually busy with their nightly routine of driving to the community garden, getting groceries, and taking our dog to the farm, I often find myself home alone with one of my brothers. On this particular day, my mom and grandma had left the house with the dog, and I assumed they were off to tend to the garden and give our furry friend some outdoor time before dusk. With the house to myself, I usually take advantage of the solitude by either lounging in the living room or watching TV, or perhaps indulging in some baking. About an hour had passed, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. I had finished tidying up the dishes, and I had just placed the cake that I was baking into the oven. Sensing the need for a quick bathroom break, I excused myself and I stepped into the restroom. As I emerged, I was taken back by a distinct voice that echoed through the kitchen. It was unmistakably my mom's voice, crystal clear and seemingly coming from right there in the kitchen. Thinking my mom and grandma had returned, I called out to them, eager to know when they had left and where they had gone. To my surprise, no one answered. Puzzled, I ventured back into the kitchen, only to find it empty and devoid of any human presence. Nevertheless, I couldn't shake off the vivid auditory experience I had just encountered. It was as if I had heard my mom's voice, accompanied by the sounds of footsteps and objects being moved around the kitchen, like chairs scraping against the floor and jars clinking on the table. I ruled out any external sources of sound. No music played, no videos or broadcasts filled the airwaves, and all electronic devices were either turned off or far away from me. Furthermore, the windows were tightly shut, emanating the possibility of outside noises infiltrating the house. Moreover, I knew it couldn't have been my brother, as his voice had a deep timbre, and once he was engrossed in his laptop, he rarely emerged from his room for hours on end. I personally ensured that I was the sole occupant of the upper floor and verified that no one had entered the premises during my brief absence. Everything appeared to be in order, devoid of any logical explanation. Curiously, this wasn't the first time I'd experienced such unexplained phenomenon. There had been instances where I distinctly heard my grandma's voice calling out to me when she wasn't even present in the house or attempting to even contact me. Each time I found myself perplexed and unable to attribute these mysterious voices to any discernible cause. Watching Spirit. When the kitchen is free, I love to immerse myself in my baking endeavors. It's a delightful escape for me, especially when I can plug in my trusty earbuds and lose myself to the rhythm of my favorite tunes. However, there was an unusual occurrence that captivated the attention of my entire family. A series of perplexing thumping and banging noises emanating from the attic area. Curiously enough, this area happened to be right outside of my room, although that detail might not be particularly relevant to the story. Nevertheless, we were all dumbfounded, unable to explain the origin of these mysterious sounds. As I was reaching the final stages of completing the batch of cookies I was diligently crafting, the thumping noises abruptly infiltrated my auditory realm. Initially, I attributed it to the volume of my music, hastily reducing its intensity. Yet, a few minutes later, the thumping persisted, compelling me to pause my melodic sanctuary and listen attentively. The sound recurred once again, prompting me to believe that perhaps my mom and grandma had returned from their grocery store expedition. Anticipating their arrival, I eagerly awaited the familiar sounds of the back door swinging open, signaling their return so I could offer my assistance with the bags. Alas, no door creaked open and no footsteps approached. Instead, an eerie sensation overwhelmed me, a distinct feeling of being watched. I've always found such experiences deeply unsettling, so I instinctively scanned my surroundings in a fervent quest to uncover the source of this unnerving presence. Initially, I suspected that it might be my beloved dog or perhaps a mischievous cat playing some unorthodox hide-and-seek game. Yet, upon closer inspection, they were nowhere to be found. My gaze gradually drifted toward the dimly lit hallway leading to the enigmatic attic area. And there, amidst the shadows, my eyes locked onto the sight that sent chills cascading down my spine. A figure, partly concealed by the hall's entrance, peered into the kitchen with an unsettling smile etched upon its countenance. The being's appearance was nothing short of nightmarish. Its complexion boasted an unsettling blend of pure white, tinged with sickly gray hues at the fingertips. Its eyes, devoid of any discernible reflection of vitality, were pitch black and seemed to penetrate the very depths of my soul. Stringy locks of light brown hair hung limply around its face, and a set of grotesquely yellowed teeth completed the horrifying visage. The mere sight of it invoked an overwhelming fear that coursed through my veins, urging me to flee, and flee I did. Rushing down the foreboding basement, a realm I rarely ventured into unless accompanied by somebody else, summoning my brother to join me, and together we ascended back to the kitchen, anxiously awaiting the return of my mom and grandma, while the insidious thumping noises continued their persistent assault on our senses. In a state of unease, we exchanged apprehensive glances with each other, yet no further apparition materialized before us. From that day forward, my existence has been punctuated by intermittent sightings of this malevolent entity. It appears without warning, lurking within the kitchen or peering out from its hiding place, fixated on me with its haunting gaze. Curiously, I never attempted to communicate through words or any other form of sound. It maintains a peculiar distance, never daring to draw too near, yet restlessly following me wherever my path takes me. I do recall a particularly chilling encounter. Bewilderingly enough, I spotted it lurking in the vicinity of a friend's house, a good half hour away from my usual surroundings. The implication of its omnipresence sent shivers down my spine. My mind has been plagued with questions, uncertainty, and a lingering sense of dread. What does this enigmatic entity want from me? Why has it chosen to restlessly stalk and observe my every move? I find solace in knowing that I'm not a practitioner of witchcraft, nor have I dabbled in summoning spirits. Furthermore, none of my family members possess an inclination towards such occult practices or have engaged with the Ouija board. The motive behind this unwavering fixation remains shrouded in darkness, an enigma that refuses to unveil its secrets. Days turned into weeks and weeks transformed into months, yet the unsettling presence persists. It continues to haunt my kitchen as if claiming it for its own domain. Its unsettling smile serves as a constant reminder of the malevolence that lurks just beyond the veil of my reality. The once comforting space where I found solace in baking and all these other different things has become a battleground of fear and uncertainty. I cautiously approach each culinary endeavor, my ears primed for the faintest hint of those dreaded thumping noises. They serve as a chilling soundtrack to the twisted game of cat and mouse that's consumed my life. Despite the sheer terror that permeates my existence, I cannot deny the strange allure of this macabre phenomenon. There is a morbid curiosity within me that longs to decipher the secrets that it holds. Perhaps deep down, I yearn to confront its sinister presence face to face, to demand answers and bring an end to its reign of terror. But caution prevails, for I know not the extent of its power or the consequences of engaging with it directly. As time passes, the encounters become more frequent, and the boundary between the reality and nightmare blurs with each sighting. The entity's presence, once confined to the kitchen, now infiltrates my dreams, manifesting itself as a haunting specter in the realm of sleep. Night after night, I'm tormented by its menacing grin, unable to escape its relentless pursuit, even in the realm of the subconsciousness. My daily routines have been tainted by an incessant paranoia. I find myself constantly glancing over my shoulder, convinced that it's a malevolent eye fixed upon me, even in the most mundane of settings. The once mundane act of grocery shopping became a nerve-wracking ordeal, as I dread the possibility of catching a glimpse of that unsettling figure lurking among the aisles, always watching, always smiling. Friends and loved ones express concern as they witness the toll this ordeal has really taken on my mental and physical well-being. They urge me to seek help and to consult experts in the supernatural in hopes of finding a way to banish this haunting presence from my life. Yet the fear of exacerbating the situation or invoking further wrath restrains me. Who knows what horrors await if I were to tamper with forces beyond my comprehension? And so, I continue to navigate the treacherous waters of existence, forever burdened by the presence of this insidious entity. Its enigmatic purpose remains an unsolved riddle, a puzzle that consumes my thoughts and dominates my every waking moment, until the day arrives when I can finally uncover the truth and break free from its oppressive grip. I'm destined to live in perpetual states of fear, forever haunted by the smiling specter that refuses to release me from its clutches. My mother's experience with my ill grandmother. Recently, my grandmother, who was my mom's mother, passed away around 2 weeks ago. It was an incredibly difficult time for both my family and my mother. She was the last remaining grandparent I had, as my other grandparents had passed away years ago. Adding to the heartache, in April of 2021, I experienced the loss of 2 uncles within the span of 5 weeks. Both of them were my mother's brothers, and while one death was anticipated, the other came as a sudden shock. These past few years had been undeniably rough for my poor mother. Although she's slowly healing, I'm certain the pain still lingers. Last night, she came over to my house and shared her experience of traveling back home to the funeral. She had to fly overseas for that. She spoke of the comfort she found in being surrounded by her family, cherishing moments of laughter and tears together. Remarkably, she arrived home just a day before my grandmother passed away, allowing her to see her one more time. During our conversation, my mother recounted some intriguing incidents that occurred while she was back home with my grandma. The first noteworthy event happened after my grandma was admitted to the hospital. She had been taken there prior to my mom's arrival. Mom mentioned that while the family was visiting her, my grandma, who was 97 years old at the time and mostly blind, expressed that she could see her late husband, my grandpa, and my two deceased uncles standing in the room waiting for her. Bewildered, my mom, aunts, and uncles questioned her claims, assuring her that no one was present. I've heard stories of individuals seeking their loved ones right before passing away, so this account fascinated me. Not long after, my grandmother peacefully passed away, and the funeral was held. It was a significant affair, with nearly the entire town attending. Funerals carry immense importance in her hometown. Understandably, my mom was devastated, though the loss had been anticipated. That night, she had a dream in which she found herself surrounded by deceased cousins and family members, as well as some who were still living. In the dream, my mom looked at her departed relatives and questioned their presence. To her surprise, one of her cousins replied, "We're just waiting for your mom." Moreover, this cousin handed over 2 boxes of sweets, one for her and one for her sister, apologizing for their loss. Mom woke up after this encounter, feeling a mixture of emotions. The following day, my mom visited my grandma's house and sort of threw her belongings alongside my aunt. Visitors and well-wishers flocking to pay their respects, filling the house with constant streams of people. At one point, the cousin found her dream appeared in person. He brought along 2 boxes of sweets, giving one to my mom and one to my aunt, leaving my mom completely astounded. She shared the details of her dream with him, and they all laughed and discussed the uncanny coincidence. The sheer resemblance between the dream and reality left my mom reeling in shock. Inquisitive as I am, I asked my mom, who's 56 years old, what she made of the grandma's vision of deceased relatives and the dream that she had. In response, she said, "I truly don't know, but it must be something positive." I wholeheartedly agreed with her sentiment. From my perspective, there's something undeniably comforting about the notion that upon passing away, we may reunite with our loved ones. It feels as though they eagerly await our arrival, welcoming us home. Such experiences reinforce my belief that there must be something greater, something more profound awaiting us beyond this earthly life. I'm certain of it because these extraordinary occurrences, witnessed by my mother and shared with me, provide a glimpse into the realm beyond our mortal existence. They offer a glimmer of hope that there's an afterlife, where our souls find solace and reunite with those who have departed before us. The fact that my grandmother, who was mostly blind, claimed to come see her late husband and my uncles moments before her passing raises profound questions about the nature of perception and consciousness. It suggests that there's a deeper connection that transcends our physical senses, allowing us to perceive the presence of our loved ones even when logic and reason may suggest otherwise. Furthermore, the synchronicity between my mother's dream and the subsequent real-life encounter with her cousin and the gift of sweets cannot be easily dismissed as mere coincidence. It's as if the veil between the physical and the spiritual realms momentarily lifted, offering my mom a glimpse of the interconnectedness between the two. These experiences resonate with a universal longing within us, a desire to believe that death is not the end, but a transition into a realm where love and connection endure. It gives us hope that our relationships, which hold deep significance in our lives, continue to thrive in a dimension beyond our comprehension. While these events may remain inexplicable within the boundaries of our current understanding, they ignite a spark of curiosity and wonder, urging us to explore the mysteries that lie beyond the tangible world. They remind us that our journey does not conclude with the final breath, but stretches far beyond, encompassing a vast tapestry of existence yet to be unveiled. In times of grief and loss, these stories provide a glimmer of light, a balm for our sorrowful hearts. They remind us that the bonds we forge in this lifetime transcend the limitations of time and space, and that love in its purest form endures eternally. As I reflect on my grandmother's passing, my uncle's departures, and the comforting signs experienced by my mother, I'm filled with a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the lives that they lived, the memories we shared, and the knowledge that they continue to watch over us from a realm beyond our grasp. In the face of life's trials and tribulations, it's these glimpses into the unknown that anchor us, inspiring resilience and reaffirming our faith in a greater purpose. They offer solace to those who mourn, reminding us that the love we hold for our departed transcend the boundaries of life and death. As I continue to navigate the intricacies of existence, I carry with me the belief that there's something more awaiting us. A realm where love reigns supreme and reunions are eternal. And though the intricacies of that realm may elude our understanding, I embrace the certainty that our journey extends far beyond the confines of this earthly realm. Strange car situations told by my friend. One morning around 6 a.m., I embarked on my usual drive to work. As I merged into the highway, I noticed a peculiar car up ahead. There was something off about it, an indescribable sense of abnormality. As I drew closer, my confusion escalated, for the car appeared as though it hadn't fully rendered yet. It resembled a pixelated and blurry object, akin to a video game character waiting to load. My mind struggled to comprehend what I was witnessing. When I finally overtook the car, a young girl behind the wheel, the inexplicable phenomenon abruptly corrected itself. I glanced back only to find a perfectly normal vehicle. The girl now appeared entirely different from the strange, distorted image I had observed moments earlier. It was a perplexing experience, leaving me puzzled and fascinated by the fleeting anomaly. Another peculiar incident occurred while I was driving. I found myself on the main road, approaching a car coming from the opposite direction. As our vehicle passed each other, I couldn't help but notice all four occupants fixated their gaze directly upon me. What made this encounter even more unsettling was the strikingly pale complexion of these individuals, resembling sheets of paper. Their eyes, unnaturally large and devoid of pupils, resembled the markings of raccoons. As the car moved past mine, the father and mother occupying the front seats, and the young boy and girl in the back, maintained unwavering eye contact with me. It was as if their intent was to penetrate my very soul. This chilling experience left an indelible mark on my memory, leaving me with countless questions and an eerie sense of unease. I met a stranger tonight who told me a very interesting story. Earlier tonight around 9 p.m., I finished my work and I decided to make a quick stop at the gas station on my way home. Conveniently located next to my workplace, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to grab some supplies for the evening. You see, my girlfriend was coming over later, and we had plans to indulge in a delightful evening of pizza and movies. However, I had an insatiable craving for a can of Monster Energy drink, and a few other items caught my attention as well. I parked my car near the gas station and I stepped out, ready to fulfill my impromptu shopping mission. As I began walking toward the entrance, a young-looking man caught my eye. He was approaching me with his bicycle, looking relatively clean and not at all homeless. Sporting a camouflage-colored backpack reminiscent of the ones used in the army, he possessed a rather impressive bike. Politely he asked, "Excuse me, sir, but I've been riding all day and I'm quite famished. Could you spare some help? I'm in need of food." Feeling a pang of sympathy for the guy, I couldn't bring myself to turn him away. "Sure," I replied, gesturing for him to accompany me inside the gas station. I instructed him to gather around $10 worth of food and drinks, to which he gratefully smiled and agreed. As we reached the counter, I struck up conversation with him, intrigued by his story and eager to learn more about this stranger. I inquired about his age and his destination. He disclosed that he was 27 years old, coincidentally the same age as me, and he mentioned that he was in cross-country, on a journey, although he didn't provide a specific reason for his travels. Offering a pseudonym, he introduced himself as Isaac and revealed that he was born on an Air Force base in Kansas. My curiosity compelled me to ask about his family, and he disclosed that they resided in Trinidad. While the revelation seemed peculiar, I chose not to delve too deeply into his personal affairs. My primary objective was to assist this individual in need. As we prepared to depart, he expressed his gratitude for the food, and I reassured him that it was no trouble at all, reminding him to stay safe and acknowledging the presence of a guiding force. It was then that he surprised me with a question. "Oh, you believe in God? What other beliefs do you hold?" Astonished by his inquiry, I found myself engaged in a conversation with Isaac that lasted over 20 minutes, right outside the gas station. Isaac exuded intelligence, with no signs of substance abuse or impairment. His eloquence and extensive vocabulary left a lasting impression on me. He began recounting the bizarre encounters he had witnessed during his worldly travels, recounting a particular incident that struck me as exceptionally strange. According to him, he had previously found himself in another state before arriving in mine. While riding his mountain bike down a steep hill at an excessive speed, a car suddenly turned into the street from his left, hurtling towards him, and in that moment, with imminent collision seemingly inevitable, Isaac closed his eyes and braced himself for impact. Yet, upon reopening his eyes, he discovered himself inexplicably positioned on the opposite side of the car from the original trajectory. Astonished, he shared that the occupants of the vehicle had exited in a state of shock, exclaiming, "How on earth are you not dead? You were headed straight for us." Nonetheless, Isaac remained oblivious to how he evaded the collision, finding himself unscathed despite the gravity-defying circumstances. Despite the velocity at which he had been hurtling, he suddenly found himself motionless upon reopening his eyes. Seance. Last month, on the 10th of July, I embarked on an extraordinary adventure with my friends. We found ourselves in the depths of an old Eerie estate that had been standing since the early 20th century. The former owner of the house was an influential man, renowned as a judge in his time. Ultimately, his life came to an abrupt end due to a heart attack that took place within one of the Grand Master bedrooms. Despite its haunting history, the allure of its cheap rent compelled us to rent the property for at least a week. Initially, we amused ourselves with classic board games like Monopoly and indulged in various social pursuits. However, as the hours ticked by, monotony began to take hold of our spirits. A wave of boredom washed over us, urging us to explore the vast expanse of the house. It was during this search for excitement that one of our daring friends suggested watching horror movies. Succumbing to curiosity, we settled down to watch the spine-chilling films Evil Dead and Drag Me to Hell. Yet even these terrifying tales failed to captivate our restless souls. Yearning for an adrenaline rush, we collectively decided to engage in an activity that would surely send shivers down our spines: a seance. None of us possessed the faintest idea of how to perform such a ritual, so we resorted to the vast expanse of the internet to guide our endeavors. After gathering the necessary information, we nervously embarked on the seance, hoping to make contact with otherworldly beings. However, much to our disappointment, the seance concluded without any supernatural occurrences. As hunger gnawed at our stomachs, we gravitated toward the kitchen, anticipating a feast of pizza to satiate our appetites. Yet, as we savored each slice, a cacophony of noises echoed from above us, accompanied by the unmistakable sound of footsteps. Startled, we hastily ascended the stairs, seeking refuge in the master bedroom. Upon our arrival, we scoured the room for any signs of intruders or paranormal phenomenon, but found nothing amiss. With our nerves still on edge, we cautiously returned to the living room. The following night marked our final stay in the house, intensifying our determination to connect with the spiritual realm. Once again, we gathered in a circle, hopeful that our efforts would bear fruit. Alas, our hopes were dashed as the evening waned, leaving us empty-handed in our quest for communication. As the day of departure loomed, a series of peculiar events unfolded before our eyes. To our astonishment, a mysterious handprint materialized on the surface of a TV screen, perplexing us as to its origin and purpose. Moreover, one of our companions discovered the loss of his cherished notebook and pen, an occurrence that perplexed us all. Equally disturbed with the ordeal faced by a friend who had occupied the bedroom where the phantom footsteps had resonated, he endured a sleepless night, tormented by the restless string of nightmares. Strangely enough, he had never encountered any difficulty sleeping in that room before. Yet the pinnacle of strangeness manifested when compelled by an inexplicable urge. I turned to gaze upon the house one last time. As my eyes surveyed the facade, a chilling sight greeted me from one of the windows. It was not the figure of an old man or any recognizable human form. Instead, it was a spectral mist, seeming to coalesce, gradually morphing into an entity that bore resemblance to a woman. The inexplicable occurrences and unshakable sensations that unfolded within the confines of that antiquated estate left an indelible mark on each of us. The atmosphere had remained eerily normal until we attempted those seances. It was as if our meddling with the spirit world had opened a portal to the unknown, inviting a host of inexplicable phenomena into our lives. In the days that followed, a palpable sense of unease settled upon us. Whispers of disembodied voices seemed to linger in the air, faint but undeniably present. Shadows danced at the corners of our vision, teasing our senses with their fleeting movements. Objects inexplicably shifted from their original positions, defying the laws of logic and physics. Sleep became an elusive luxury for all of us. Night after night, we found ourselves plagued by vivid and terrifying nightmares. The line between dreams and reality blurred, leaving us exhausted and perpetually on edge. It was as though the spirits of the house had taken hold of our subconscious, tormenting us as punishment for our failed attempts at contact. The once vibrant and joyful camaraderie among our group now withered under the weight of fear and uncertainty. Each of us bore the weight of our individual experiences, yet the shared sense of foreboding served as a constant reminder that we were not alone in our torment. Conversations grew hushed and guarded, the specter of the supernatural overshadowing every interaction. Desperate for answers, we delved deeper into the history of the estate. Researching archives and interviewing locals, we uncovered a dark tale that had long been concealed beneath the layers of time. Rumors swirled of the judge's involvement in the series of heinous crimes, his position of authority enabling him to evade justice. It was said that the very walls of the estate held echoes of the judge's malevolent deeds, his spirit forever trapped within its confines. Armed with this newfound knowledge, we resolved to confront the lingering presence that held us captive. We sought out assistance of a renowned paranormal investigator, someone who could shed light on the forces at play within the estate. With an air of expertise and an array of specialized equipment, the investigator embarked on a thorough exploration of the property, hoping to unravel the mystery that had consumed us. Days turned into weeks as the investigation unfolded, unveiling a series of chilling discoveries. Electronic voice phenomenon recordings captured faint whispers, urging us to leave and beware. Anomalies appeared in photographs, manifesting as ethereal orbs and misty figures. The investigator's own instruments registered abnormal electromagnetic fields, a testament to the otherworldly energies that permeated the house. As our understanding of the situation deepened, so did our resolve to liberate ourselves from the clutches of the supernatural. Armed with sage, crystals, and incantations, we performed a meticulously planned cleansing ritual, channeling positive energy and banishing the negative forces that held sway over us. The atmosphere within the estate shifted, gradually transforming from one of dread to one of lingering serenity. With the spiritual turmoil finally subsiding, we made our final preparations to leave the house for good. Our time there had been a harrowing journey into the realm of the unknown, an experience that would forever shape our perceptions of reality. As we close the door behind us, we carry with us the weight of those indelible memories, reminders of the delicate balance between the living and the spirit that inhabit the ethereal plane. Though we had sought adventure and excitement, we had unknowingly wandered into a realm far beyond our comprehension. The estate's haunted legacy had become a part of our personal narratives, intertwining with our lives and forever altering our perceptions. We left that place with a newfound respect for the unseen forces that dwell in the shadows, forever cautious of the boundaries we dare to cross in our pursuit of the extraordinary. Story 9. Sulfur. Throughout my life, I've always been a skeptic when it comes to the supernatural. Ghosts, paranormal activities. I believed that there was a logical explanation for everything. However, there were 3 peculiar incidents that made me question my skepticism. The first happened when the mother of one of my closest friends tragically took her own life in the living room of their house. Ever since that fateful day, the room became an eerie and unwelcoming space, shrouded in an inexplicable aura of unease. Understandably, my friend and her family were eager to move out as soon as they could. One evening, during either the pleasant months of April or May, my friend invited a few of us over for a slumber party. Despite her warnings about the living room, advising us to gather in her room instead, we recklessly decided to camp out in the very room that held such dark memories. At first, things seemed relatively normal, but there was an unmistakable feeling that something was amiss in the air. It was as if we were constantly being observed, though it's challenging to articulate the sensation precisely. As the night progressed and we started to drift off into sleep, a sudden acrid odor filled the room. One of the girls identified as the distinct scent of sulfur. Fear gripped us tightly as we attempted to trace the source of the smell, assuming it must have originated from the kitchen. However, to our astonishment, there was no trace of the odor within the culinary confines of the house. When faced with uncertainty, what do we do in this modern age? We turn to the almighty oracle of knowledge, Google. In our panic, we fervently searched for any information about sulfur and its potential association with spirits. The results we stumbled upon only deepened our unease. Reacting swiftly, one of the girls hastened to open a window, hoping to dissipate the unsettling smell. But in a disconcerting twist of events, just as the window creaked open, a glass perched on the table teetered precariously before plummeting onto the floor, shattering on impact and staining the carpet. A peculiar coincidence, I thought to myself, trying to rationalize the occurrence. However, the expressions on the faces of my companions revealed the growing dread that enveloped us all. Sensing no other recourse, we hastily abandoned this eerie living room, seeking refuge in the sanctuary of my friend's bedroom, where we finally managed to find solace and drifted off to sleep, albeit uneasily. Has anyone else experienced this? Last night I was abruptly awoken by an incredibly peculiar snoring-like sound. It wasn't your typical comical snore, mind you, but rather an indescribable combination of inhaling and exhaling, accompanied by the unsettling noise of lips smacking together. Initially, the volume was deafening, persisting for several minutes. Simultaneously, I could sense an aura of negative masculine energy lurking in the corner of my room. Although the noise eventually ceased, my body remained tense, and my heart continued to race with fear. Just as I thought it was over, to my dismay, it resumed once more. During its recurrence, I perceived the presence shifting toward the foot of my bed, momentarily before retreating to its prior position. The sound persisted for a few more minutes before abruptly vanishing. As it subsided, my body gradually relaxed, and I felt the departure of this enigmatic presence, allowing me to drift back to sleep. Yet, my tranquility was short-lived as my body abruptly tensed up again, accompanied by the disheartening thought, "Oh God, is it back?" and predictably, the eerie noise commenced anew. On this occasion, in addition to the inexplicable sound, I sensed what I felt to be multiple hands clutching beneath my thighs, as if attempting to lift my body. Strangely enough, the sensation seemed distinct from the presence emanating the particular noise from earlier, as I still perceived its malevolent energy emanating from the other side of the room. The episode continued for a while longer before abruptly ceasing. Yet, as fate would have it, a few minutes later the sound returned, albeit noticeably quieter and weaker than before. After enduring approximately another 5 or 10 minutes of the haunting noise, intermittently fading in and out, it transformed into a mere whisper. It persisted for prolonged durations before finally ceasing altogether. In response to this unsettling experience, I decided to acquire some frankincense and white sage incense sticks, which I am presently burning during writing this. In an attempt to seek solace or find similar accounts, I turned to Google, but my search yielded no results concerning this bizarre breathing phenomenon. It's worth noting that I've never been a proponent of the notion of witching hour. However, during this disconcerting encounter, I found myself questioning whether it was indeed connected to that supernatural concept. Eventually, when I mustered enough courage to open my eyes and move, I glanced at the clock and discovered that it was precisely 4:25 a.m., further fueling my contemplation. Creepy forest visits. Before my visit, I received a referral from our regional chaplain who oversees ministry and chaplaincy support in a sprawling city area. While pastors, ministers, and priests usually work within the confines of churches or abbeys, I transitioned from being a pastor to becoming a chaplain integrated into the local community. As an area chaplain, my responsibilities encompass several suburbs and extend to providing support for the staff of the Order of St. John, residing or working within these areas. The referral I received was from a location within my jurisdiction, a forest that has become notorious for its eerie happenings. Reports mentioned strange noises, an unsettling feeling of being observed, and the presence of enigmatic symbols. Curiously, the community member who raised these concerns also experienced consistent nightmares and restless sleep after visiting the forest. Although it took some time for them to connect the dots, the forest itself was a charming, albeit secluded place on the outskirts of suburbia. Often frequented by dog walkers, naturally, I decided to bring my faithful canine companion along for this investigation, ensuring I also carried a blessed tiaha, an ancestral weapon symbolizing strength and protection. During my initial visit, I encountered a series of peculiar occurrences that left me unnerved. I stumbled upon a bird with a broken neck positioned beside a bag of putrefying meat, adjacent to a small candle shrine nestled within the forest. This discovery hinted at human involvement, although my role entailed disproving paranormal phenomenon. Nevertheless, this finding immediately raised concerns within me. Continuing my exploration, I encountered 2 more deceased animals, an indigenous eel with its head cleanly severed, and a hapless hedgehog that had suffered severe blunt force trauma, rendering it completely flattened. At that point, my mind entertained possibilities such as a delinquent adolescent, a homeless person seeking refuge, or even an ill-conceived attempt at dark magic. Additionally, I noticed unusual markings adorning the trees on the path, adding to the mystique. Furthermore, the absence of any sounds of wildlife was conspicuous, although I considered the possibility of seasonal variations and common fluctuations in atmospheric pressure. To address this, I conducted a blessing ritual involving the recitation of sacred songs. Astonishingly, I concluded the ceremony. The birds around me started to sing. Determined to eliminate any potential threats, I disposed of the decaying meat by discarding it into a nearby bin. During my second visit, I arrived armed with a Bible, a small wooden cross, and wearing my official uniform. I understood that blessings were not a one-time solution, but rather required repeated interventions. These rituals acted as a security blanket, serving to reassure and protect, and on this occasion I noticed extensive drag marks scattered throughout the forest, many of which led to the small shrine area where I had discovered the dead bird previously. Furthermore, the distinct murmuring I had faintly perceived during my first visit became more distinct. I also experienced instances of significant movement around me, including an inexplicable disturbance in a shallow stream. Despite the stream's mere 15-centimeter depth, something caused a forceful splash, launching water about a meter into the air, an utterly perplexing occurrence. Moreover, I felt an unusual pressure on the back of my neck and ribs, although I speculated that this might just be a manifestation of anxiety-induced muscle tension. Undeterred, I traversed the forest, clutching my wooden cross tightly while reciting small exorcism invocations whenever a sense of apprehension loomed. I aimed to ward off any lurking malevolence and ensure my own safety during this investigation. The third visit proved to be the most challenging. Upon arrival, a putrid stench permeated the entire forest due to the multitude of decaying animals. Although I suspect that I had missed some of the deceased animals during my previous visits, the overwhelming smell of death in the forest confirmed the extent of the grim situation. A decapitated rat, several birds, and a few mice lay scattered among the trees and foliage. Determined to address the spiritual turmoil that plagued this place, I had come prepared with the prayer book of St. Martin, intending to consecrate the area and bring about a sense of peace and healing. As I ventured deeper into the forest, it became increasingly evident that despite the constant sound of voices and footsteps echoing along the trail, I could never quite catch sight of anyone. The indistinguishable murmurs seemed to emanate from just around the corner, tantalizingly close yet frustratingly elusive. Undeterred, I proceeded cautiously, keeping my dog on a tight leash, vigilant for any sign of sources of these perplexing sounds. Upon commencing the prayer ritual, an overwhelming wave of nausea surged through me, and I found myself vomiting uncontrollably. The putrid odor of death grew even more suffocating, intensifying the challenging circumstances I faced. Nevertheless, I persevered, determined to complete the consecration and alleviate any sinister energies that plagued the forest. The sounds of movement persisted, a cacophony of rustling leaves and snapping twigs, as if some unseen force was observing my every move. The pressure on the back of my neck and ribs remained, reminding me of the delicate balance between my own fears and the spiritual realm I sought to address. Despite the physical and emotional turmoil, I pressed on, my voice trembling, but resolute as I continued the prayers. Gradually, as the consecration neared its conclusion, the vomiting subsided, and the sickening odor dissipated into ether. I found a profound sense of calm descending upon the forest, replacing the previous atmosphere of malevolence and unrest. To ensure thoroughness of the consecration, I repeated the prayer once more, and this time without any adverse effects. Now, on my fourth and most recent visit, a noticeable transformation has taken place within the forest. The carcasses of the deceased animals have either decomposed or disappeared entirely, and the pervasive stench of death has also vanished, replaced by the familiar scent of nature's tranquility. Although peculiar noises and mysterious movements still persist, I sense a marked decrease in their frequency and intensity. The absence of large wildlife in this area makes these sounds even more perplexing, but I'm hopeful that my efforts have begun to restore harmony and dispel the lingering darkness. However, my work is not yet complete. I am aware of the accumulated litter and debris that require immediate attention. With renewed determination, I will return to the forest, equipped to cleanse and bless the neglected surroundings once more. The markings, once symbols of the enigma and unease, will be rectified and imbued with a renewed sense of positive energy. As I embark on this final phase of my task, I carry with me a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The journey to restore balance in the forest has been arduous, yet I remain resolute in my commitment to the community and my duty as a chaplain. Wish me luck as I navigate the remnants of darkness, armed with faith, compassion, and an unwavering belief that the light will ultimately prevail over the shadows. Scene from the shower. In my line of work, which involves constant traveling, I find myself spending a majority of my time residing in hotels. So over the years, I've come across numerous tales of paranormal phenomenon occurring within these establishments. However, personally, I've never experienced anything of the sort. That is, until a peculiar incident unfolded roughly 3 years ago during one of my hotel stays. On this particular occasion, I found myself taking a refreshing shower within the confines of my hotel room, and as luck would have it, the bathroom door had been left ajar, granting me a view into the bedroom from my vantage point in the shower. The room's layout was such that the shower was nestled in the corner, with a wall to my left and the doorway leading to the living room to my right. It was the spacious one-bedroom suite that I had chosen for my temporary house. As the water cascaded down, enveloping me in its warmth, I indulged in the soothing sensation. However, for some inexplicable reason, my gaze remained fixed on the room before me, and then, in the blink of an eye, it happened. Emerging from the right side of the room, seemingly materializing from the living room, glided a figure. She was a woman with an ethereal nature, possessing an otherworldly pallor and rendered her almost translucent, her skin resembling the texture of delicate parchment. Cascading down her back was a mane of long, straight black hair, reaching down to her waist in a mesmerizing display. The encounter lasted no more than a fleeting couple of seconds, but those mere moments felt like an eternity etched within my memory. As this enigmatic figure passed by, she turned her head in my direction, our eyes locking in an inexplicable connection. In her gaze, I detected neither fear nor curiosity, just an unnerving stillness that seemed to penetrate to the depths of my being. Without halting her ghostly stride, she continued her spectral journey, appearing to traverse the very wall directly in front of her. It was as if she was effortlessly traversing a barrier that existed only within the realm of the supernatural. The sight that unfolded before me was one of the most baffling and bewildering spectacles I've ever witnessed. The image of her countenance remains ingrained in my mind to this day, a face that lacked defining features save for two abysmal orbs, dark as the night sky serving as her eyes. A mere slit represented her mouth, barely hinting at its existence, while a faint suggestion of a nose completed her enigmatic visage. Not a single word was uttered, nor did she exhibit any discernible emotion. She simply shifted her gaze towards me, our eyes meeting in a silent confrontation before vanishing into the intangible fabric of the wall, leaving me dumbfounded and awestruck. That encounter, without a doubt, ranks among the most inexplicable and peculiar incidents I've ever experienced. It served as a stark reminder that the realm of the supernatural possesses wonders and enigmas that are far beyond our comprehension. Demonic dream and the events after. It all began when I decided to take a nap one afternoon. As I drifted off to dreamland, everything seemed normal. I found myself sitting on the sofa with my friend, unaware of the impending strangeness that awaited me. Suddenly I became conscious within the dream, realizing that I was indeed dreaming, yet I remained silent. A peculiar tension filled the air and my gaze fell upon a box of tissues. To my astonishment, a tissue mysteriously soared upwards, piercing through the ceiling. Intrigued, I boldly challenged the unseen presence, saying, "If someone is here, do that again." Lo and behold, the tissue obeyed my request, but this time I managed to catch it. Curiosity urged me to turn to my right, only to find a colossal goat inches away from my face. Strangely enough, I somehow knew that this goat possessed human teeth, In my mind, I pondered, "If you are what I think you are, speak." Just as it was about to utter a word, I intervened and stopped it. The goat responded with a slight head movement, seemingly annoyed, and then emitted a bone-chilling demonic scream. Abruptly, I jolted awake, still able to hear the reverberations of the dreadful sound for a few fleeting moments, as if it clung to my senses, forcibly pulling me back into wakefulness. Keeping this unsettling experience to myself, I refrained from sharing it with anyone, particularly my partner at the time, who held an irrational fear of such matters. However, an unspoken shift in the atmosphere within our home became apparent. Occasionally, I would jest, half seriously stating, "There's a ghost haunting our house," to which my partner would dismissively respond, "It won't do anything." Several days later, while accompanying my mother to the hospital, I received frantic messages urging me to return home immediately. When I arrived, I found my partner sitting outside, visibly terrified with her dog by his side. Trembling, he recounted a spine-chilling encounter that he had had in the kitchen. As he prepared a drink, he distinctly heard my voice inquire, "Are you okay?" Turning around, he expected to see me standing there, but to his astonishment, no one was present. Bewildered, he resumed his task, only to experience a sudden surge of searing pain coursing down his back. Upon inspection, we discovered 3 deep crimson gashes running vertically down his spine, a perplexing sight considering his short nails made it impossible for him to have inflicted these wounds upon himself. The scratches persisted for 3 days, and it was after that ordeal that he decided to leave. A week later, my mother approached me, visibly disturbed. She recounted an incident from the previous night when she had heard my voice echoing from the bottom of the stairs, urgently calling out, "Mom!" The time was 3 a.m., and I was sound asleep upstairs, rendering it impossible for me to have uttered those words. Although it resembled my voice, she knew deep down that it couldn't have been me. Weeks passed and life carried on with the undercurrent of unease, and I found myself in the hallway, bringing in groceries when an inexplicable force seemed to grab my butt. Shocked and bewildered, I rushed to my mother, sharing the bizarre occurrence. In jest, we attributed it to the mischievous ghost, with my mother playfully chiding, "You dirty pervert." However, as I returned to the bottom of the stairs, the demonic scream reverberated through the air once again, chilling both my mother and me to the core. Overwhelmed with fear, I hastily fled the hallway, my heart pounding in my chest like a drum set on overdrive. The bone-chilling scream echoed in my ears, intensifying the horror that had gripped my entire being. I couldn't shake the feeling that the unseen entity was toying with us, its presence lurking in the shadows of our home. Seeking solace and reassurance, I turned to my mother, her expression marrying my own fear-stricken countenance. We exchanged anxious glances, both knowing that something beyond our understanding was unfolding before us. The hair on the back of my neck prickled as I heard what sounded like faint footsteps resonating upstairs. Each footfall seemed to grow louder, as if some invisible force was purposely moving away, evading our grasp. Determined to confront whatever malevolent force has invaded our lives, I mustered the courage to ascend the stairs, one hesitant step at a time. The air grew thick with anticipation, and my palms grew clammy with perspiration. With each creak of the stairs beneath my weight, a sense of trepidation mounted within me, warning me of the perils that awaited. As I reached the top of the staircase, the atmosphere became increasingly oppressive. Shadows danced along the walls, playing tricks on my anxious mind. I cautiously moved towards the rooms, my senses heightened to detect even the slightest disturbance. It felt as if time stood still, and the world holding its breath, waiting for the next haunting to occur. The first room I entered was my own. The space had once provided solace and comfort, but now it seemed tainted by an otherworldly presence. Every corner, every object seemed infused with an eerie energy that sent shivers down my spine. I could almost hear whispers in the silence, murmurs of a spectral nature that eluded comprehension. With bated breath, I continued my exploration, moving from room to room, searching for any sign of the supernatural intruder. The once familiar hallways now felt like a labyrinth, a maze of uncertainty and fear. It was as if the very walls held secrets, secrets that refused to be revealed, secrets that threatened to consume my sanity. Days turned into weeks and the paranormal activity persisted. Objects would inexplicably move and doors would slam shut, and disembodied voices would echo through the empty corridors of our home. Sleep became a distant memory, as each night brought with it a barrage of nightmares and restless tossings and turnings. The veil between the realm of the living and the realm of the spirits seemed dangerously thin, blurring the boundaries of our perceived reality. Desperate for answers, I sought the guidance of experts in the occult and the paranormal. They conducted investigations delving deep into the history of the house and its surroundings. Their findings painted a chilling picture, a history of tragedy, dark rituals, and restless souls longing for peace. It appeared that our home had become a focal point for these tormented spirits, drawing them towards us like moths to a flame. Eventually, we made the difficult decision to leave the house behind, bidding farewell to the echoes of the past that had haunted us for far too long. As we settled into our new abode, the oppressive weight that had clung to our lives gradually lifted, and a sense of normalcy returned. However, the memories of these harrowing days still haunted me. The events that unfolded in that house serve as a constant reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond our comprehension, reminding me that the realm of the supernatural is a force to be reckoned with. It's a chapter in my life that I'll never forget, a testament to the inexplicable and the unexplained, forever etched in the deepest recesses of my soul. Does anyone think mind control could exist? I think someone might have used it on me. I know this might sound absolutely insane, but honestly, I'm at a loss for what else to call it. This is the topic I've discussed before on a different subreddit, hoping to gather more insight and opinions because I was left with an overwhelming number of questions. To add to that, I recently had another bewildering account that further piqued my curiosity about this phenomenon. Back when I was in college, there was this individual who possessed an uncanny ability to place me under some kind of trance whenever we engaged in conversation. It was as though she had a mysterious power over me, compelling me to do practically anything she instructed. Interestingly enough, I would always retain clear memories of our interactions. However, there was one particular occurrence that stood out in my mind. She somehow persuaded me to give her the money I had, something I would never even consider doing for my closest friends. It's truly perplexing to try and articulate the sensation, but imagine teetering on the brink of falling asleep with all my focus solely fixated on her words. Since my college days, I've been working in the retail industry, and just the other day I found myself ensnared in that same perplexing state of mind while assisting a group of customers at the checkout counter. There were 4 friends, and I noticed them stealing glances at me from across the room, whispering amongst themselves as if preparing for some covert operation. As they eventually approached the counter, one of them assumed the role of the spokesperson and initiated conversation with me. It was as if an invisible switch had been flipped, instantly plunging me into that familiar otherworldly mental state. I found myself mindlessly nodding and agreeing with whatever this person was saying, completely surrendering my will to her command. It was only later that I realized to my utter shock that I had allowed them to exit the store without making any payment. It took me a good 5 minutes or so to gradually regain my senses and snap out of this perplexing trance. Needless to say, this incident left me rattled to the core. I find myself growing increasingly apprehensive about engaging in conversation with unfamiliar individuals, since it appears that I possess an unnerving susceptibility to whatever influence they wield. Now, people have told me that it couldn't possibly be hypnosis, since one cannot be hypnotized into performing actions they wouldn't otherwise consider. This is precisely why I've resorted to labeling it as mind control, although I'm well aware that such a description may conjure up images of conspiracy theories and individuals donning tinfoil hats. Hence, I find myself wondering if there's any others out there who have encountered similar experiences, or if I'm simply descending into the depths of my own mind, teetering on the brink of madness. Knocking on my window during the spring and summer. For the past 7 or so years, I've resided in my house. A peculiar occurrence has taken place during the seasons of spring and summer. Without fail, I've experienced a series of perplexing incidents wherein the knocking sounds emanate from both my bedroom and bedroom windows, both of which are situated on the second floor. Given the architectural design of my abode, I'm inclined to believe that there must be an individual positioned outside of my bathroom window, as the roof adjacent to it is remarkably flat, rendering it easily accessible with the aid of a ladder. However, to my perpetual bewilderment, each time I mustered the courage to investigate the source of the knocking, I am met with an empty vista devoid of human presence. Bafflingly enough, the enigma does not cease at the bathroom window alone. After I reluctantly withdraw from my bathroom and proceed back to the sanctuary of my bedroom, an unsettling pattern emerges, whereby, more often than not, a short interval elapses before the reverberation of knocking resounds against my bedroom window as well. Unlike its bathroom counterpart, my bedroom window opens up to a sheer drop, leading directly to our driveway below, leaving me perplexed as to how anyone could possibly approach it without arousing the attention of others nearby. Remarkably, this peculiar phenomenon seems to be confined solely to the warmer months, with occurrences in the winter seasons being a rarity, further deepening the enigmatic nature of these incidents. Has anyone ever had a similar experience? For a span of 3 years, I found myself immersed in this particular line of work, which led me to 2 different locations. To encapsulate my experiences succinctly, it can be said that it's brought me to the brink of death without actually succumbing to it. Among the myriad encounters I had, one incident stands out vividly in my memory, forever etched in my mind. It was a moment that shook me to my core, leaving an indelible mark. I was confronted with the perplexing scenario of bed alarms reverberating within the resident's room, even hours after their passing. These alarms, designed to activate when the individual either rises from their bed or falls out of it, defied all logic. The perplexing aspect was that the room remained empty during those early morning hours, devoid of any human presence. How or why these alarms would jolt into action in the absence of any physical movement remains a weird mystery. One of my co-workers, a woman deeply rooted in superstition, mind you, ventured to propose a peculiar hypothesis. She surmised that the lingering spirits of the departed were responsible for these supernatural occurrences. In her superstitious belief, she would ceremoniously open a window in the room, an action that inexplicably brought an abrupt end to the incessant alarm symphony. Such eerie incidents became commonplace in my line of work. Strange happenings once relegated to the realm of folklore and myth began to unfold before my very eyes with astounding regularity. Skepticism and disbelief, which had been my steadfast companions, were abruptly replaced by a newfound acceptance of the inexplicable. The boundaries between the tangible and the intangible, the living and the deceased, became blurred, ultimately shattering my preconceived notions. The profound impact of this occupation manifested in an unprecedented transformation of my entire worldview. Previously, I'd held steadfastly to the firm disbelief in supernatural phenomenon, dismissing them as figments of overactive imaginations or mere tricks of the mind. However, my tenure in this new role rewrote the very fabric of my beliefs, dismantling the walls of skepticism and unveiling a profound understanding of the intricate relationship between life and death. Thus, this journey into the realm of mortality and the ethereal imbued my existence with a newfound sense of awe and reverence. It taught me that the boundaries of our comprehension are far more malleable than we dare to imagine, that the mysteries of the universe extend far beyond the grasp of our limited understanding. In embracing the inexplicable, I discovered a humbling truth, that the human experience is a tapestry, interwoven with threads of the enigmatic, waiting to be unraveled by those willing to venture beyond the realm of convention. Story number 17. What is in the patrol room? During my uncle's time as a trustee at the county jailhouse, he encountered an inexplicable incident that has haunted him ever since. The puzzling occurrence not only left him dumbfounded, but also perplexed the workers who observed the event through the surveillance cameras. It all happened in the early hours of the morning when my uncle was diligently tidying up the patrol room of the sheriff's department. The task at hand was relatively simple: clean the area surrounding the computers, sweeping and mopping the floors, and ensuring that trash was properly disposed of. As he finished tidying up the trash bag, ready to leave, something bizarre occurred that sent shivers down his spine. Without warning, one of the swivel chairs he had previously pushed back against the desk suddenly started rolling toward him. Astonished and initially suspecting a prank, my uncle swiftly turned around, only to find himself completely alone in the room. Startled, he dropped the trash and sprinted out, vowing to never set foot in that room unaccompanied again. The jailers, who had been monitoring the cameras, were equally astounded by the sight of the chair inexplicably rolling on its own. Even to this day, the incident remains an enigma, defying any logical explanation. After the peculiar episode, an unspoken agreement was reached among everyone involved to avoid discussing it further, as if by acknowledging the event, they would be inviting more inexplicable occurrences into their lives. However, my uncle staunchly remains that the patrol room and the entire department is still plagued by supernatural forces. On certain nights, as my uncle could make his way from the patrol room, he claimed to hear faint whispering echoes through the air, emanating from the very place that had sent him fleeing in fear. The eerie sound only added to the mystique surrounding the haunted room, reinforcing his belief that something otherworldly resided within those walls. The Baker Boy. Story number 18. During my mother's childhood, she lived in a remote region of Mexico, where basic amenities like electricity and running water and air conditioning were non-existent. In that little cramped house, my mother and a few of her siblings often resorted to sleeping on the porch to accommodate everyone. Yes, it may sound strange, but they slept on makeshift beds outside, as it sometimes proved to be cooler than inside the house. The porch had a screen meticulously installed by my resourceful grandfather, who had also constructed the entire house with his own two hands. Given the vast expanse separating them from the nearest neighbor, the dwelling felt like it was situated in the heart of nowhere. Now here comes the eerie part, the ghostly tale that unfolds from this quaint setting. Amongst my mother and her 3 siblings, there were the chosen ones who slumbered under the starry night sky each evening. Initially, they never encountered any disturbances or fears until the night of the Baker Boy making his first appearance. Picture a small child with golden curls, clad in white baking attire, with a face concealed by a grotesque mask made from real pigskin. This peculiar figure would amble in circles around the perimeter of the house, reciting a mysterious phrase incomprehensible to my mother, as it neither resembled Spanish nor English. Naturally, they were frightened at first, but as time passed, they grew to appreciate the presence of the Baker Boy. It almost seemed as though he performed nocturnal vigils to safeguard them from any misfortune that may be befalling them. However, his true identity remained shrouded in mystery, and the lingering question of his existence loomed over us all. Unfortunately, my grandpa, being the skeptical soul that he was, dismissed their accounts as figments of their imagination, concocted merely to find an excuse not to enter the house. But my mother and her siblings vehemently denied such motives. As days turned into weeks, a curious development unfolded. The faint trace of the Baker Boy's nightly sojourn began to manifest as an indistinct pathway encircling the house. This peculiar phenomenon was undeniable, and it left an indelible mark on their memories. Needless to say, they didn't remain in that house for much longer. They relocated before eventually making their way to the United States. What makes this tale even more extraordinary is that before my grandpa passed away, he admitted that my mother and he had finally glimpsed the elusive figure. the blond boy with the unsettling pig mask.